Hello, folks. I'm back. Welcome back. I hope you all enjoyed all of the discussions. As a reminder, I'm John, co-founder of Major League Hacking, and I am Color War Team Red here, the best team. Um, I am really excited because we are about to kick off our workshop block. We will be having 4 workshops going in parallel on different stages. So make sure you tune in to whichever one you are most interested in. On this stage right here, we're going to be having Paul and Patrick talking about securing your Discord server with check-in bots, like the one we have on the MLH server. On the blue stage, you'll have Richard from DevPost talking about how to set up your hackathon submission platform and utilize DevPost to its fullest potential. On the red stage, you will have Kevin, a former MLH coach and current evangelist over at Orbit, talking about how to use Orbit to build and sustain your hacker community. And last but not least, on the yellow stage, you will have Jacqueline and Adam talking about community building and why it's difficult, a tale of hack quarantine and sharks, or blahages. I don't know what the plural is there. It's going to be a really fun session. So without further ado, I'm going to hand things off to Paul and Patrick. Feel free to engage with them through the comments. They will be able to see it in the chat. And enjoy. And we'll see you back in about 45 minutes for marbles.
All right.
Hello. Hi. Can everyone over in the comments hear me? I'm assuming they can. Cool. All right. Hi, I'm Paul.
And I'm Patrick.
And we're going to be giving our workshop talk on securing our Discord with check-in bots. Oh, Patrick is gone. Oh, no.
No.
He's there.
I'm still here.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
There we go. No worries.
All right.
All right.
I'm
Awesome.
going to blame John for that one.
Yeah, thanks, John. It's okay. So before we get started, we're going to do a little bit about who we are as human beings. I'm Paul. I'm an organizer for SunHacks. I've been an organizer for SunHacks for a while. I do space things over at NASA JPL. I'm a PhD student, and I drink a lot of coffee.
And I'm Patrick. I'm an organizer for Hack the Borough. I've been that for a little less time than Paul's been a SunHacks organizer, but still. I'm an underwater man and a desperate coffee addict. And Paul and I have been working together on stuff for like 3 years now. It's crazy.
Yeah, we met at NASA a long time ago, and we've been working on making technologies for our hackathons. Specifically, what we do, who we are. We're directors of technology at our individual hackathons. If your hackathon doesn't have a tech team, this is kind of what we do. We build technologies to make everything run smoothly for our hackathon. So that might be building our check-in website, building the registration system, so that way people can register for your events, the actual website where people go to check out what your event's about, and then tools in between. So for judging, and in particular today, for checking into your event.
Yes. Usually they work flawlessly. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes
this will be a fun presentation. We'll see if things work flawlessly today. I hope they do. But before we begin, let's take us back in time to the year 2019, before every hackathon was virtual. And I want you to picture yourself. You registered for a hackathon. It's the day of. You walk in, and what's the very first thing you see at the hackathon? The check-in desk. It's the desk that every hacker will have to go through. It'll have organizers behind or volunteers sitting there waiting, so that way they can get your ID, a QR code, something to link you to your registration. This check-in desk ensures that only the people entering the event are people that are registered for the event. And it also makes sure that everyone entering has the same information and everything. So they get the same swag. They get told that dinner is going to be at 10 and it'll be pizza. And locks down your event to make sure that everybody in the building or wherever you're having it is somebody that should be there. Somebody that is registered for your event. You said, we want to have you come. here's all the information you need to know, and then they're there.
Problem is now, because of the plague, everyone's on their computers. So we don't actually have a real physical front desk to guide our hackers into our events. Because we have no physical location at all, anybody from anywhere, if they find an invite, find the link to the server, they can just wander in. There's no identity verification by default, and we don't have check-in logs, so we don't know who was at our event, when they were at our event, when they got there, what their what the association between their Discord presence and their registration presence is, which is super fun if you want, for example, MLH to know who went to your hackathon.
Yeah. When you fill out your postmortem and you're like, here's a list of hackers that attended. It's a bunch of Discord usernames. They won't be very happy with you.
Take it from experience.
Yes. Also, in the case of Hack the Berg last year, do you want to talk a little the little story you have about?
Yeah, so we had an issue last year where somebody did exactly this. That one person on there was registered for the hackathon. And they invited a bunch of their friends. They submitted a project which was plagiarized from VT Hacks. They ended up winning second place, and we didn't catch them until during the prize ceremony. And so not only did they plagiarize it, they weren't supposed to be there, so it was a whole incident. What a headache. So
and it would have been solved
if we that.
Are able to link people to the registration. So it's not just anonymous Discord user, it's person whose registration we have on hand.
Exactly.
So in order to fix this, last year, both of us built Discord bots. Essentially, it was a Discord bot that if a random person just found your server invite and they went to your Discord, they wouldn't be able to get into it. They would be stuck at a check-in desk where they have to click a button, or in the back then it was an emoji. And once they were able to click on that, they'd have to validate that they were a registered user for your event. And once they got validated, they got their hacker role for our server, and then they could see all the channels. So they could go to the random channel, they can go to the memes channel and post memes like this one that we made. And it allows them to be on the server. But if they don't check in, they can't enter in at all. They only see the check-in desk and maybe the rules desk.
So let's talk a little bit about what actually is a Discord bot, right? So a Discord bot is basically just a virtual user, right? So it acts as if it's a real person on your server, but it's actually secretly run by the computers. So it can DM users, we can perform actions on behalf of our programmers. And the nice thing about them is that they're really natural to use and talk to, right? They just look like regular users. So people who use Discord, and if we were running a Discord hackathon, there's no extra learning curve to try to use a Discord bot. You can just talk to them, right? And the Discord specifically also has a really nice API, making it very easy for us to make them. That's why these things end up Discord bots are used in many servers, and they're kind of like music for moderation or like controlling music or whatever. They're wonderful little things. That's what we're going to be using today.
And so now we're going to do something extremely fun and risky, which is doing a live coding demo at Hackcon, trying to build an entire Discord bot from scratch, kind of scratch, and fitting it all within this 45-minute workshop window.
Yes.
With that in mind, I'm going to say that coding along in real time is probably not the best thing. We've prepared a couple little things where we've set up some things that we have tutorials for, and they'll be walked through, and we'll have the resources for them. But for the purpose of this hackathon, or for this very short window, it kind of is a hackathon putting this together. We want to fit within the window, especially because Marbles on Stream is right after this, and we don't want to miss that. So, yeah.
And you guys don't want to miss it either.
Yeah, it'll be fun, I promise you.
All right, so yeah. With that in mind, here's something we baked earlier, like Julia Child pulling a full chicken out of the oven. So here's our example Discord server here. Let me go ahead, and because I'm not registered with a bot, I'm gonna click register here. Our registration bot will DM me for the message history. This is my email. If anybody wants,
this would normally be like you registered for the event 2 weeks ago through a website or something, and there's that. But for our hackathon that we're making, and you're all invited to today, you will see this.
All right.
And to answer the question, what stack are you going to use? You'll see, and it's horrendous, but it'll be great.
So this is here what we're going to be building. So here's a little bot. We have a button that we can click to check in. We click check in. It's going to DM us. We're going to reply with our email to start. And if we were very lucky, it'll DM us back with the starting check-in. And usually would email us or demo code. We made it just text it to us because I'm not going to go digging through my email on a stream.
It could be fun. We might see some.
It could be fun,
things.
But it probably won't be. Send a reply with my invite code, and they're like, "Hey, welcome to Hackcon Hacks." And now, if you see, I can now see the cool kids only item there, channel there, and I can actually interact with that. Whereas before I could not, and it's also given me the hacker role, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
If you would like. Yeah, and if you want to go try out playing with the bot and seeing it, we actually have the server invite here, Kage/X, that server invite. And you can join our server and register for our hackathon and check into our hackathon and be a cool kid in our Cool Kids Only channel. But now we're going to talk a little bit. Now we're going to go into how we build the thing. So to start off, like the high level, we're going to talk about what is this process of checking in. So in a virtual environment, a hacker is going to come through and they're going to walk up to our check-in desk, which will be in the channel, and they're going to click the button to check in. That button will then, when they click the button, the bot will then send a DM to the hacker saying like, hey, thanks for starting check-in. What email address did you use for registration? The hacker will then say, I use this email address. They'll DM their email address back. And our bot will then go look up in our database and say, okay, is this an email that has registered? If they are, we're going to write down their Discord username and any associated information. And then we're going to email them a verification code to say, okay, you say that's the email you use for registration. Let's do the two-factor verification to make sure that you have access to that email. Because we don't want someone to be like, oh yeah, I'm John Marco. This is my email. I totally am. Sign me in as this person. You don't want that. Once we get the verification code from our email, we then send that back to the bot, and then the bot says, awesome, welcome to the hackathon. Here are your roles. Pizza's at 10. You have to order it yourself because this is a virtual hackathon. So what are some of the requirements we need for this? So that's kind of the high-level overview, but now we're going to talk a little bit into the nitty-gritty of what should our bot do to ensure our server is secure.
Exactly. So this is kind of what we're going to need, right? So for starters, our whatever solution that we need, what we're going to build, we need to make sure that we block people from either checking in twice, reusing invite codes, getting in when they're not allowed, when they're not registered at all, that kind of thing. We also want to make sure that whatever service we have, it is easily deployable so that we can make changes quickly, or if there's an emergency or whatever, we're like, oh my God, something's broken, or we need to update whatever. We don't have to SSH into a DigitalOcean or whatever, or other VPS provider. We can just make a quick change and deploy it directly from our browser. We want to make sure that we have some way of storing state as well. So DMing is sort of inherently a stateless process. And the process that we're trying to do is stateful. So we need some way to bridge that. So we need some kind of database. And then lastly, we want to have our solution to be as simple and accessible as possible so that hackers and organizers can both be like, okay, let's just get this. It's as easy to use as possible so we can continue maintaining and deploying this in the future.
Yep. So in order to get this done, we have our very cursed tech stack, which somebody asked about in chat. Our backend for this, we're going to be using Autocode. Autocode is a node-based system that lets you spin up endpoints for different interactions. So in our case, our interactions are all going to be from our front end, which is going to be Discord. So that's interactions like when the user clicks the button, fire this block of code. When the user sends a DM over to our bot, fire this block of code. For our stateful memory and everything, we're going to have our database, which I put in heavy quotation marks because we're going to be using Google Sheets for this. Google Sheets should not be used as a database, and I don't care what Patrick tells you. Please do not use Google Sheets as a database, but you can. And for the purposes of this demo, we're going to be using it so that way we can peek into our database pretty easily just by opening up the spreadsheet. And then for email, because we didn't really want to go through how you set up Amazon SES and get the email all situated and everything. And also, we don't really want to open up our emails on chat so you can see my research papers and everything. We're just going to be looking over at the spreadsheet, and it will say what our invite code is after we send the invite code over to us.
All right.
And so now let's begin with setting up the new project. So,
all right, let's swap over. Hello, welcome to my computer again. Here is AutoCode. AutoCode's a wonderful little service. We're going to make a new AutoCode project here.
Yeah.
And we're going to close out this guy here. Okay. Cool. And we're going to link some resources as well. So we're going to go over here. This platform does let you, when you're linking the resources, it walks you through this wonderful little like wizard and shows you exactly what to do. For us, we're not going to do that because we don't really have time. So we're going to add one.
We would love to,
earlier.
But I promise you, it is very easy to walk through. If the AutoCode people are out there in chat right now, they did a wonderful job at making a really easy to follow tutorial on how to link all these resources. So thank you.
Exactly. So yeah, we're going to link Google Sheets, and we're going to link our database here. So this is our bot. We already put him in the server. And then here's Google Sheets. Here's our database here.
Database. So this would be our registrations that we collected. So our registration only had 3 things: what's your name, what's your email, and what's your favorite color. And so we only got 2 people that wanted to attend our hackathon, and it's me and Patrick.
Yes. Okay.
So now we're going to set up a couple things on Discord and Google Sheets. So on Discord, we need to set up our developer mode, so that way we can access all the ID information we need. We're then going to set up some channels, so that way that's where people will check in, set up some roles, and then set up some permissions, so that way we can lock down our server and make sure that only people on the server are the people that have checked in. We're then going to go over to our Google Sheets and modify our database to add a couple new columns that are specific to what we need for check-in.
All right. So let's get this started here. So let me put this back. Welcome back to my computer. First thing we're going to do, we're going to turn on developer mode in Discord. So we're going to go over to advanced.
Yeah. We also have a question in chat. Is AutoCode an API? AutoCode is more of a development platform. I don't know, what would you say, Patrick?
It's basically like, imagine if AWS Lambda didn't suck. That's AutoCode. It's really nice, and it has great integration. Basically, the whole point is you take. It's also previously known as standard library. If you guys might know it by that name. Basically, it takes APIs and then provides a nice sort of web IDE that you can plug those into each other, and then deploy them into the cloud without really worrying about specific deployments or API keys or anything. It handles it all.
And you'll see all of that when we put it together. Like we'll be building it in AutoCode, so you'll see. Okay, so developer settings. So that's settings.
We already set that.
Perfect. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a new role.
Right. So we've got a couple roles already. We're going to make a new role for our new second secret hackathon. So we're going to call it Double Secret Hacker. You're going to be watching me type very slowly here. We're going to make it green because green is the sneakiest color. And yeah, there we go. We've created our double secret hacker role. Also, we're going to make sure that when you just wander into the server here, the default permissions, make sure that this switch to view all channels is off. So you can only see the channels that we explicitly tell unregistered people that they can see. All right, so next up, we're going to make a check-in channel. So we're going to call it just, check-in. That's appropriate. And then we're going to head over to the permissions. At everyone should be able to see the check-in channel.
Can you scroll a little bit, Patrick? Because there we go.
Yep. Excellent. Oh yeah, sorry, it was behind it
was behind
the slides.
If you want to know how we made this presentation, it'll be really fun because that slideshow that you see on his screen share is actually me. Oh,
that's great. So we have the double secret hacker lounge, and we're going to make sure that permissions add a role to double secret hackers that they can make sure that they can see this channel. Again, there we are. Save our changes. And excellent. Okay, so that's basically all the setup that we need here. So let's copy down some environment variables, right? So let's get the ID of our server, right? And let's set it in environment variables.
Yep. So environment variables are basically variables that we can use across our entire application. So in this case, if we might need our guild ID in multiple different things, so we keep track of that. Also, Discord uses an archaic guild. They used to be called guilds and not servers, so it's still labeled as guild ID.
We also got to grab the role ID here, so the ID of our hacker role. So we'll copy that and just make sure that the hacker role is below the bots that we're doing. So our live bot demo is the one that we're using here. So as long as it's above the double secret hacker role, then it can assign that to other people. So that's our hacker role ID. And last but not least, we need the channel ID of the check-in channel. Which we're just going to go back here, right-click, and copy ID. If you're wondering, by the way, the reason why we can right-click and see copy ID is because of developer mode. That's why we turned it on. So we'll paste that here and save our changes. Excellent. All right.
Now we need to set up our database.
Database. So in the interest of time, I'm just going to copy the columns here. But we have basically invite code. We're storing the Discord ID, Discord username, Scrumator expiration, and whether or not they've already checked in the invite code expiration. So now,
so invite code,
all the changes that we needed.
Yeah, invite code will be the code that we send out to somebody. So when we send the code to somebody, and then we will store it in the database, so that way we can retrieve it later. And then expiration is to know whether or not the code expired.
Okay, excellent. All right, so let's get cracking because we're kind of already tight. So the next step is we should be building the button. All right, so let's head over to AutoCode here.
I got it for you. Paste.
Oh, you got it for me?
That works.
All right, perfect. Yeah. If you scroll down to the bottom, there's this link here called the Embed Builder, which lets us put together Discord embed. There it is. All right. So this lets us build like rich presence stuff for Discord. I'm going to, so that you guys can see the preview, and move that down. Okay. So check in. Click below to check in. And then we're going to add a button here. Button label is check in. We are going to call it check_in. Let's make sure we remember this as well. And
so later on, that custom. Sorry. Later on, the custom ID is used to make sure that we know what button was pressed. So if there was like multiple buttons that our bot spun up, we know which button's which.
Yep. We just click copy the code to clipboard, and it will have already made all the code for us already. So you can just paste that here. This is just a random request here. We're just going to trigger this manually. Also, we're going to make sure that we know which channel to dump this message in, right? So we'll put it in our environment variable that we set earlier to channel ID. We have to save the project as I'm going to call it live demo. Saving your project. We're going to wait for this little dingus to
answer the question in chat about is this going to be front end? The front end of this will be our interactions with Discord, but all of the endpoints will all be back end endpoints that only Discord can access.
Yes. And now if we click run, if we've been very lucky, nothing happened, but I heard a message drop into Discord. And if you look at the check-in channel, we did it.
Ta-da! There's a check-in button.
Excellent.
Live chicken demo bot. All right.
Yes.
So now we need to connect.
If we click the button, it doesn't do anything though. So we need to actually wire that up. But let's talk about what we're actually going to wire it up to.
So the next step that we need to do is we need to create a new endpoint, and that endpoint will be triggered anytime the button is clicked. So when a user clicks the button, then it will send a DM to the hacker asking for their email address. AutoCode makes this very simple, which is nice.
Yes. So let's do it. Let's go back to here. You guys can still see that. Perfect. All right, so let's go over to make a new endpoint. We're going to say, okay, when we get a Discord button interaction from the button check-in, remember the one that we said earlier, then we should DM the user. So when do we do that? So first off, let's get the oops-a-daisy. Let's get the user ID.
Yep, there we go. Sorry about that.
Oh, thanks.
Try it now.
Oh, you're good. We have the user ID. So context parameters contains the sort of payload that we got our endpoint called with. Here's an example. And then, oopsie, we're going to DM the user, right? So this is really cool, really the killer feature of autocode. libdiscord.dm, sending DM to user by ID. Recipient ID is the one that we have found earlier, and the content is, hi, respond with your email to check in. Finish configuring. And now if we save that, you can see that this is now deploying, and it's live. So now if we go over to check in and click the check-in button, we should get a DM, and we did. Ignore the rest of the message history. This is not the first time we've tested this.
Yes, it's a very long message history. But yeah, as you can see, now the button is linked to that interaction in autocode, and we're able to do things with it. So now we're going to handle what happens when you get a DM. So hacker's going to come through and they're going to send a DM. We need to create an endpoint that triggers anytime the bot gets a DM, regardless of what the DM is. Then we're going to do a little bit of error handling. So if the DM we got looks like an email address, we're going to go check our database to see if that email exists in it. But we're also going to check to see if that Discord is already there. Because remember, we want to make sure that one person isn't like checking in multiple times or anything. We're then going to verify that the current user is able to check in with that email. And then we're going to generate a verification code and then send that over to them, as well as writing it into our database.
All right. So let's actually go ahead and do that. Welcome back to my computer. I'm going to create another endpoint, again from Discord. And now we're going to do dm.create. So if someone DMs us, we'll know about it. And this function here will fire, right? So first thing we're going to need is we're going to need to get the actual message and some of the information about the author. Remember, this again comes just from the payload that we have received. This is like an example of one of these, but basically message is the message content. Author is like this little nugget there.
Mm-hmm. Also, if you're wondering how Patrick's able to paste things with such speed, I'm actually controlling his clipboard right now.
Yes,
which is fun.
We wrote a whole thing so that we could finish this in 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we're gonna need some helper functions. So if we want to check if they've DM'd us an email, we need to wait to see if something is an email. We stole this from Hack Overflow. It's horrifying, but it works reasonably well. Also, we're gonna need to have a function for generating an invite code. So here's a function that does exactly that. This returns like OX and then an 8-digit hex code, like a pointer. The really important part here is the OX, which means that, or 0x, which means that we know that if they text us something that starts with 0x, then that's an invite code, right? That makes our logic later on very easy. All right, so we need a couple more helper functions as well. So we want to be able to get users by their email and the Discord ID, right? So we want to be able to give our database an email or give our database a Discord ID and return the same row. So let's start with the email. And this is really the fun stuff here. Autocode ships with a really cool integration. So let's do this. So await lib.discord, lib.google sheets select rows from spreadsheet by querying it like a database. Range, we're going to double check our database, but we go from A to I. That's where our data lives. So
and
we're going to look
over in chat, that regex does give me anxiety too, in case you're wondering.
Yes. Oh yeah. No, I'm not happy about it, but it works. And that's the real hackathon spirit. Anyway, so we're going to do this. We're going to say where our email is equal to the argument that we got from that function, which is, in this case, is email. And that's it. And we hit finish configuring it. It makes all the code for us.
Yeah, finish configuring was underneath the little slideshow, but there is a button to finish configuring. Yes.
Yeah, let me move this up so you can see it. Hopefully that'll be better. I don't know. Okay. And then this little thing gets at the end just says, hey, if we got any rows, return the first one. Otherwise, return null. So like basically a poor man's monad. All right. So next up, we're going to do basically the same thing for Discord, where we're going to go and say await, or sorry, const record equals await lib.google sheets select here A through I is a row. We don't actually, again, we don't have to specify this thing by default. It's the spreadsheet that we linked, where Discord ID, which is the name in our database, is equal to the function argument, which again here is Discord ID.
Discord.id, but yeah.
This one takes the argument, I think, Discord ID.
Oh yeah, sorry, you're right. My bad.
Yeah. Oh, you're good. And then again, we have the same little thing where we just pick the thing. One last thing we're gonna make really quick as well before we get into it. We're going to just make a helper function to DM a user with some text. So await lib.discord.dm a user by ID. Recipient ID is Discord. This one is the global one for some reason. And then we just have the argument there. And that's it. And that creates our DM. All right. So now it is actually time to open up the resolving based on our message, right? So let's end helpers and begin real code. So our user, first we're going to just see, we get our user by our Discord. All right, so we just try to get the row based on the user's Discord ID, right? Then we're going to check if the thing that we got is a message. And if so, we're going to, it's a message we got, if that's an email, and if so, we're going to print it out. Otherwise, we're going to respond to the user like, hey, we don't know what you're trying to tell us here. Next up, we're going to try to resolve the email in the database as well. So we get user by email. So we're going to just look them up and they'll tell us whether they exist or not. And then let's just print it out for good measure. All right. So now let's actually handle what can happen.
So here are a couple of the errors that you might run into with a user trying to come in. First off, their email's not in the database. They never registered for the event, so we don't actually have an email for them. So we say, unable to find your registration. Next, email's already checked in with a different Discord. That means that the registration is already linked to a different account. We need to tell them, you're already checked in with a different Discord account. Please DM us if you have any questions or anything like that. The alternative way, Discord's already checked in with a different email, so they're trying to check in with a different email address than the one that they're already checked in with. Then we let them know you're already checked in and it's a different registration. And then finally, they're already checked in general, in which case we just tell you you're already checked in.
Perfect. So let's turn that into code. We did it earlier because we have 15 minutes left in this talk. So let's paste this all. These are basically literally in the order that Paul just said them. Check the emails in the database. Check if it's already linked to a different ID. Check if they're already linked in, already checked in with a different email, or if they've already checked in general. If we make it to here, then we're good.
Yeah.
Make an invite code with our cute little function there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. So what we're not going to do in this talk is we're not actually going to send the invite off, right? But we are going to update Google Sheets. So update rows by querying it like database. Again, remember A through I is where our data lives, where our email is equal to the message value. And we're going to set, for example, here, the Discord ID to discord.id. Excellent. In the interest of time, because I'm not going to go through all of these, I have here. Here's one I baked earlier. Basically, it sets the Discord ID, the Discord discriminator, the numbers after the ID, the numbers after the username. Sorry, the actual username itself, the expiration of the invite, which is this gets us milliseconds, times 1,000 gets us seconds, times 60 gets us minutes, 30 minutes. So you have 30 minutes from when they text you that we've sent to email to actually respond with your email. And then we also save the actual invite code. So save her up. And if we've been very, very lucky, then this should work more or less out the gate. So if we respond with our email to check in.
Please. Yay! Success!
We did it. All right, so we sent us an invite code, and we just DM'd it because we're not going to, again, dig through our emails. All right, so, oh my God, I can't tell you how nervous we were that was going to work.
Yeah. So now that we got an invite code, we now need to set up the bot to process the verification. So we'll edit the endpoint so that way it triggers when the bot receives DMs. Edit the same invite, but then this time, if the bot sees a verification code, it's going to check the database for the Discord associated with it. So we're going to verification code. We're going to go look at it. If the verification matches and the Discord user is able to check in, set their roles correctly, the way they can access the server, and then send them a little welcome message, say welcome to our hackathon, etc.
All right. So let's do that. So let's start with checking if we the message that we got starts with the 0x. Remember, that's the prefix for all of our invite codes. It just makes our life a little easier. Yeah, so now we have an invite. So we actually now need to check a bunch of errors, right? So we got to make sure that we can do this. Let's swap back here.
All right. So a little error handling. First, we're going to check to see if the hacker even exists in the first place. If they don't exist in our database, then they never actually sent us an email address. So we tell them, you need to send me your email first. Then we're going to check to see if the verification code has expired. If it has, we let them know. Then we're going to see if the verification code matches. If it does, then if it doesn't, we'll let them know. And then finally, we're going to check if they're already checked in. And if they're already checked in, we'll let them know. But if they pass all of those, then we're going to be able to give them access to the server, which will be nice.
All right. So to turn that into code, again, Julia Child, here's one we baked earlier. So here, we check if they have a user, right? So if they've already sent us their email. We check that this hasn't expired by getting the current timestamp, coercing our string out of the database into a number using plus. Now, if the time is greater than the expiration timestamp, then it's expired. Otherwise, if they sent us a different invite code, that's not cool. Or if they're already checked in, then that's not cool, right? But now if we get to here, then we're like, great, we did it. Let us update our system, right? So we are going to lib.googlesheets.update rows in the spreadsheet by querying it like a database. Again, A through I. Again, we're updating where the Discord ID is equal to discord.id, right? So we're getting the row by the ID. And the fields we're setting is Discord. So we're setting checked in, which let me double check that that's what that's called. Also, you can see that it's already written the sort of, he started checking into our database, and checked in is the thing that we're going to be writing. So we're going to write that, and we're going to call it like yes. I finished configuring. So that's good. Next step, we're going to give them roles, right? So let's lib.discord.guild role, or no, hang on, add role to guild member. There we are. So the role ID is what we said earlier. So process.env.hacker role ID. Our user ID is the one that we just got. So again, discord.id. And our guild ID is the one that we set earlier in our environment variables again. So guild, and that's behind the thing for you again. So whoopsie daisy. Move that down here so you can kind of see there. Let me just click finish configuring. So we add the final thing there, and we're all set. Perfect. And then last but not least, we are going to send them a little bit of information about the hackathon, which we can just do this to the reply. Welcome to Double Secret Hackcon Hacks. Save that. All right, I'm not missing any pieces here. That's everything.
No, I think that's everything. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, yeah. With all that, now we get to test it out. All right. Go send the DM over.
So yep, let's do FA6A7F. Let's try to get it wrong first. Let's make it a D at the end. It should be unhappy at us. And so if I send it again to F, then I'm back in Double Secret Hackcon Hacks.
And if you go check the server,
you see,
you now have access to the Double Secret Lounge.
I am in the Double Secret Lounge, and I have been given the Double Secret Hacker role. And if we look at our demo database, then you can see it's written that we're checked in.
Yep. And so when MLH comes to us and says, "Hey, who's everyone that checked in?" we can tell you that Patrick's favorite color is blue, and he checked in.
Here's what he looks like online. Here's his ID. Here's his expiration. Checked in. If you go a few rows over, it's got my social security number and everything.
All right. And with that, that's kind of how you build it. We've set up, we have a Notion page set up that has all the information from this talk, as well as like some other things. So we'll have the GitHub there. It'll have links to AutoCode. We're currently still working on making sure everything is available. We're getting the GitHub situated, but it is there. And we'll post that after the talk and everything. You can see we have some stuff there now. And yeah, we want to, with our like last 4 minutes or something, we're going to open up the chat to see if you have any questions. Like if you have like, how would you add this feature to it? Or just questions in general about being our hackathon's tech team leads, what it means to code for your hackathon, how every day is a hackathon when you are coding for a hackathon. We can start telling jokes. Got any good jokes, Patrick?
I'm full of jokes, but none that I'm allowed to tell on stream.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, how different is this with the new version of the Discord API? And like, did that enable new functionality that you all were able to tap into?
Yeah. So, with the new Discord API, that introduced buttons recently. So you were able to like, in the past, it was all emojis, and it would be like, oh, click an emoji, click like the check-in emoji to get people to check in. And there, we got tickets. So we had like a ticket bot set up as well, where people can submit a ticket if they have a check-in question. And we'd get people like, hey, how do I check in? It's like, click the emoji. What emoji? They're like, and then they'd click like the emoji in the message or anything. So having like an actual physical button really helped.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really helpful. Any other questions from chat here?
Yes, this is the URL, by the way.
URL.
This is the page where you can find everything. So it's got links to the URL, links to join the server, links to the source code and the slides when we can put them up after the talk.
There you go.
Yep.
Awesome. Also I can put that in chat for you too.
Yeah, I just
it looks like someone else was able to.
That was me.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much. That was a great talk.
Thanks for coming.
You want to finish it up?
All right. I'm Paul. You can find me there on my website. It has links to social medias and stuff.
And I'm Patrick. You can find me on my website there. And it's got also links and everything that you could want.
Incredible domain name, by the way. I'm very impressed.
Thank you. I'm very.
It was
proud
a pain
of it.
to get, I'd imagine.
I had to pretend to be Georgian.
On that note, thanks, folks. Really enjoyed the workshop. You can find them on Discord later if you have more questions. Alrighty. So our next session here is one that a lot of people have been looking forward to. It's called Marbles, and I have to admit that I have no idea what Marbles is. Everyone's been telling me it's super cool, and I'm really going to enjoy watching it, and yet I have never seen it before and have no idea what it is. So this is going to be a surprise for me, maybe not a surprise for many of you. We're currently ending all of the other workshop streams, so we're going to give people a couple of minutes to filter in here. But we will get started momentarily. So,
hello, John Gottfried from MLH. How are you?
Pretty good, JP from MLH.
Are you getting any sort of echo on my end, or does it sound good?
No, you sound great, and we are live. Are you excited for Marbles?
I am so dang excited for marbles. You know, you were asking me what marbles, or you said you didn't know what they were. So I figured really quick, I would give a quick description of everybody as what marbles are. Marbles are small spherical objects, usually made from glass, clay, steel, plastic, or agate. They vary in size. So today we're going to be learning about a little bit about marbles. I'm just kidding. Marbles on Stream is a game available on Steam. I put games in gigantic quotes here. For those of you who may not know, basically the way the game works is you're going to be able to play along with everybody else in the chat. You may ask how you're going to play along. You're literally just going to type exclamation point. Let me make sure I get the command right here. Let me just start something real quick so I don't lie to everybody. So it's not very complicated. Basically what you're going to do is you are going to type exclamation point play into the chat, I think, right? Oh, wait.
I don't know. I've never played Marbles before.
Hold on. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. We'll let everybody get in here anyway. I know everyone's going to be super stoked about it. But yeah, basically the way it's going to work is you're going to type something along the lines. It's either exclamation point play or join. I have to double check what it is. And then once you do that, you're going to get your marble added to the game itself. And then once your marble is in there, you're all going to race along a big old track. Very fun, very exciting. And basically the marbles, top 10 marbles who win at the end are going to be the winners of the race. You have no input after that. So you're literally just going to type exclamation point play, your marble goes, and we all cheer on. And we act like you're actually, you know, there's skill involved, but there's actually not. That's kind of the whole joke. So people who join later don't know that joke, and they're going to start typing like exclamation point speed or exclamation point play or whatever it is. It doesn't do anything, I promise. All right, let me start this thing one more time. Sorry about that. Hold on, wait for, I got to share the screen and everything. There we go. It is exclamation point play. I got it right. Woo, good job, me. Okay, let me share. When you share a screen, oh, you can share a window. Whoa.
Of course you can share a window. This is StreamYard. It's magical.
Technology. Okay, I did that. And then we have to do like this. Boom. Wow. Oh.
We want to test this
wow.
out?
Look at that. Okay, so now that it's up, everybody in chat who wants to play along, type exclamation point play in the chat. I'm going to hit join so the cursed MLH marble would join. The MLH marble, for the record, has never won a race, ever. So we'll see if this Hackcon is the time that we can get it in here. But I'm really excited. Hackcon, I'm going to basically say, is I've been looking forward to it as our grand finals for marbles races, right? We've been marble racing for over a year now at various MLH events. But I figure as organizers, you are best in class at everything, right? You're the best hackers. You're the best marble racers. There's nothing you can't do. So I'm really excited to see what it is that's going to be here. I'll give everybody another, say, 10 seconds or so to join on in. Anybody who hasn't yet, we can get started. We're going to be doing a bunch of races. So don't worry if you missed out on this first one. You can join in on the next one. I am back. How's it going? Oh, I remember you. What's good? Yeah, so we have returning marble racers. I hope that you picked up some strategies over the course of the last couple months or so. Picked up some, maybe you got to put some stank on your marble when you roll it in there. We got a raid from MLH Yellow. Heck yeah, we're using the raid features. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit the big start button. Let's get in it. Let's see if I remember the controls. I hope I do. There we go. And the marbles are off. So we got 10 marbles in here. You love to see it. First marble going ahead of the pack here is going to be Sunder. You can see the gigantic pachinko cookie machine. John Gottfried, known cookie lover, here really hoping he can stick it out as the theming is on point. And the MLH ball is actually in the head of the pack right now. This may be seen as collusion. I know a lot of you are raising a few eyebrows. You may think I'm cheating, but I'm here to prove to you that I'm not. Ahmed is neck and neck with the MLH ball right now. The Ahmed, I don't know what strategy he's picked up. That is a dangerous corner. Hopefully none of our marbles accidentally tip out when they go there. John, Mark Go, a.k.a. John Gottfried, and Nick Quinlan, 2 longtime MLH employees, at the back of the pack. Hopefully they can kind of pick it up here. I'm kind of ashamed by their performance, and I really hope they can show more skill as this goes on. How do you join? So you're just going to type !play when we start the next one. If you missed this one, it's totally fine while we do another one. The big booster. What? Oh, is this the goal? I don't know what this means. I've never seen this before. This is a new marble configuration. I think it is the goal. I think they just shoot out onto the dartboard. They have to get in the middle. I love that. That's wonderful. John Margot hitting. I'm going to say that's like the, what is it right outside the bullseye? Wait, that's not how bullseyes work. Whatever. Ooh, the winner's going to be the cool one. I don't know if that was by time or by points on the dartboard. I don't know what determined this, but we do know that the cool one was indeed the winner. He is indeed the cool one. We did unfortunately have 2 do not finishes. Neuromincers and Boss Sheep, I'm very sorry. We'll remember you fondly throughout the rest of Hackcon. Just kidding. You can join on in the next race. But 9,000 LRB going to be taking 2nd and 3rd there. We're going to go ahead. We're going to hit another random track. You did win the cool one. I don't know what you won. What do you want? It can't cost any money or take much time. And I'm going to hit the join button there. Everybody, hit !play right now in the chat. Join on in. After you hit play, nothing else you do will help you as you race down this track. It is all up to chance. That is the fun of marbles. But you can pretend that you're good if you wanted to. Not working? Try again. Heck yeah. I see a lot of familiar faces. Excited to see. Is it a web app? This is a game on Steam. It's free. You can play it with your friends if you're so inclined. All right. We got 21 marbles. That's a big increase. People are really getting on in here. I'm stoked about it. Okay. I'm going to hit the big start button. Give you 10 more seconds to join if you haven't already. We're going to get started. You can see this is a classic swirler formation. The way that these kinds of maps work is everybody kind of starts around in a circle, and then they all want to get into that middle circle as best they can. How to play controls? I've got bad news, buddy. There ain't no controls. This is just how life works. So you can see here the marbles going in, the big old swirler. It is all up to the fate of the cosmos for who's going to get in first. And it looks like it's going to potentially be Larby. I don't know. We're going to lose track of the marbles a little bit here. Just for a little while. Oh, I don't think any of them have really gone in. Some of them have. Okay. They are going down through the tubes, going up to the big swirler of death. There is a glass over ceiling here in this map, potentially leading to less of a devastating kill-death ratio for some of these marbles. But we'll probably see some exciting stuff regardless. And oh my goodness, I say that Ashwin takes a dive straight into the clouds, high flyer there. Unfortunately, Ashwin is not going to be able to finish this race. Neuromancer currently ahead of the pack, going down the big swirler. Neuromancer, no sweat at all. They've been practicing that technique in their garage for the past year. That's been their quarantine hobby. You love to see it paying off. Now, slowly going down these pegs of doom. These pegs may not look like much, but those pegs have been the cause of many aspiring marble champions' defeats. And now it is completely up to chance. This is a shuffler and a half. Neuromancer, though, manages to fight his way through. But Adam Drummond, the legend, Adam, who just gave a lightning talk before this, I believe, is now ahead of the pack. I can't believe they still have the energy. Yeah, there's no controls to life. That's just general wisdom. Oh, the booster pads, those are dangerous. The booster pads in combination with no ceiling. It was a workshop, not a lightning talk. I try my best. As long as about 50% of my words are correct, I consider it a good day. You know what I'm saying? Going over the lumpity-bumpities at this point. Your marble fell off. Oh, no, John. Not finishing this race. Who else we got? We got Neuromancer taking up second place here. Again, going over the bumps. No sweat there. I'll be honest. I've never seen anyone get tripped up by the bumps. Oh, but you can see unmarked keyboard. I've never seen someone get chipped up by the bunts, but I've never seen someone take them so gracefully, even though unmarked keyboard is in 4th and getting stuck by the peg. Oh no, they min-maxed their stats. They had it maxed out for bumpage, but no stats for pegs. Adam Drummond now ahead, getting stuck there a little bit, but will he be able to get the boost and get it to the goal? People are going to die here. Adam Drummond manages to get through, but let's see if we can watch some of these. Let's get to the dynamic camera angle. Ooh, Sunder B going over. Sunder B's in. They're clean. Gianni? Or Giansar? So I was trying to read that. There, Giansar doesn't make it, unfortunately. The boost is claiming its prizes. Unmarked keyboard, making it on through. I had a cool one, shocker. This is devastating. So many marbles not finishing. Ahmad, can you get through? No, way too wide to the right. What are you doing, buddy? Come on, eyes on the road here. Wait, Richard Murby? Yo, Richard Murby from DevPost is alive going down. Unmarked keyboard, I told you. We saw the ways that he conquered the bumps before. I said unmarked keyboard was a player to watch, and I was correct. They are going to be taken first here, and Richard Murby, sponsor of Hackcon DevPost representative extraordinaire, is going to take 2nd place. Larby in 3rd. There's so many do not finishes. Most people did not finish. Oh my gosh. 9000R is taking 4th. Will Boss Sheep be able to finish? They're taking their time. You know, I don't really know what the strategy is up here, but, you know, they read Tortoise in the Hair, and they were like, Tortoise life. And they've been that way ever since, but they don't have any forward momentum. Okay, here it is. They're going. Boss Sheep is indeed going to be able to successfully finish there, taking 4th place. You just saw your marble fly into oblivion. It's the way it goes here in these cruel streets. Nice. See the fun? Okay, Bachi was taking 5th. Oh my gosh. Do you see the blood on display? These do not finishes going on. We're going to go ahead. We're going to roll it again. Another random track. It's okay if you didn't win that one. I'm sure you've learned your lessons. You're now in more control of your marbles. I just imagine trying to play this game with like a VR headset or something, and I got sick to my stomach just thinking about it. Do I see a Sunhacks marble in here? If I'm not mistaken, I believe the Sunhacks marble was in the very first MLH marble race of all time, and I believe they did fairly well. So the Sunhacks marble being here, definitely a strong contender to look out for. A veteran of the marble racing community, if I say so myself. Everybody, if you don't know, type !play in the chat now to join in as your own marble. You can see everybody's lovely names here. This horse looks like it's going to be a doozy. I can see a thing spinning. I see a gigantic pachinko board. There's a lot going on here. I'm going to go ahead and hit the big star. It's going to set the 10-second countdown. Count along with me. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What is going to happen? Marbles going down now. The pachinko machines are a grand shuffler. This is a fair start for everybody. It's all about skill, and 9000R showing that they've got the skills to indeed pay those bills. However, they're getting blocked hard by the fans. It is Richard Murby, sponsor of DevPost. I'm so sorry. You know, you had a good run in the last race. I don't think anybody doubt your skills, as well as Aditya Oberoi, coach extraordinaire, unfortunately also taking the L there. Both of them quick deaths here that do not finishes. Oh my gosh, the gigantic tube. Dippo getting a lot more rotations than Honest Plaque. Oh no, but their speed will be the end of them. Unfortunately, they were looking strong as could be. But unmarked keyboard, oh no. Is this going to be unmarked keyboard's territory? Is this their kingdom and we are their mere peasants? Will we ever be able to rise up against his monarchy? Oh no, Adam Drummond got immediate do not finishes. You hate to see it, but oh man, I see fire up ahead. It's looking dangerous out there, kids. Be careful as you approach. Ooh, excellent. Look straight up. But unmarked keyboard, undeterred, but slowing down. Maybe taking my words of caution, trying to take it to heart. Yeah, there is no controls going on here whatsoever. Unmarked keyboard going down the funnel, but this is another good old shuffler. Will we see another marble take first here? We do. I'm going to say Shakamar. Hopefully I'm correct on that. I'm apologize if I don't, but they are currently in first, approaching the angry face. I've never seen such an angry thing in all of marbles. It's gone. He defeated him? Oh my gosh, no way. Do they have to get on it and get launched? I don't like the juju of this bowl. I don't know what this means. Chat, I'm scared. Is this the finish line? No, right? What are we waiting for? What? They get launched over here. I see. The pirate ship flags showing them the way to destiny. Ooh, this is exciting. Unmarked keyboard again? Are we gonna get the double? Indeed we do. I've never seen in my life of playing video games, playing anything, a double win by somebody in marbles. Unmarked keyboard, hitting it with the juice over here. They have shown up to Hackcon ready to play. Sunhack says rigged. Okay, maybe. You know, I might be giving preferential treatment here to Unmarked Keyboard, but 9000R is going to be taking second place here. Shakamar taking third. Ahmed fourth. I had a cool one fifth. Daipo sixth. Horizonaut in seventh. Dated Cylinder in eighth. Who will we be getting in ninth and 10th? It seems like it's complete chaos. I don't what is happening up there? I've got no idea. Oh, they're just stuck waiting for the peg. Now, here's the challenging position that these people are in, folks. These marbles only have 1 minute to finish this course before they are automatically eliminated by the encroaching elimination wall, which we can't see just... Oh, there it is, that blue streak. But there we got one launch. But they don't have a lot of time. You know, 50 seconds may seem like an eternity, but you'd be surprised how fast it can trickle down. But Neuromancer trying to prove that they are built different, getting ahead of the pack here, and trying to at least get a finish here in this third inaugural Hackcon race of marbles. They are indeed going to take ninth, and Rolagons is going to fill out our top 10, taking second place. Unmarked Keyboard says they will actually sign up for Hackcon now. Heck yeah, we got another one. All we had to do was make them play marbles. Woo! Unmarked Keyboard again. I don't know how to feel about that, really. I've never seen the back-to-back before. All right, everybody. I think we're ready to do something a little bit different. I think we're ready to pull out the big guns in this here marble race at Hackcon. We're going to do a little thing that we in the industry, in the biz, call a Grand Prix. What this is going to be is it is going to be 3 random maps back to back, and you're going to win points every time you finish within a certain realm of top 10. And we're going to do this to determine, because you know, these random one-off races that you see, anybody could win, right? Any Johnny Donuts with 2 pennies in a dream can roll up and potentially win one of these races. But when we're talking 3 races back to back, truly only the skilled are going to be able to take it. So we're going to hit the big random button here. And that looks good to me. I don't even know what that means. One of these is called Time Delta, which scares me. And I believe I should be able to start theoretically. Oh, wait, do I just hit it a couple times? Hold on. Aha, we did. Okay, bam. 3 maps back to back. Let's see who's the Johnny Donuts and who's the Johnny Gronuts. Ooh, 2 other people have joined in the background here, but that's okay. All right, everybody. Now, type exclamation point play in the chat. This is going to be how we're ending out these marbles. Join now for the final Hackcon Marbles Grand Prix. I'll give everybody just a second because this will be the last one. And to be honest with you, I forget if you can join midway. I don't remember. All right, 20. 20 seemed good to everybody. I think we should get going. This map looks like it's going to be a trip. I see a start-finishing line kind of deal going on here. I'm terrified. Okay, we got the 2 more in right before the time ran out there. And there they go. This is like a Mario Kart track. Holy free holies. Can you believe this? Are greens mods? Yes, I think they are. Everybody's going around here. You can see everybody has 1s because that is indicating their place in the Grand Prix. Honest Plaque ahead of the whole crowd. Their drifting is on point. You can see this is a map that really tests your ability to take corners and drift. A lot of people, when they're making their marbles, they lean more towards raw speed. Common rookie mistake. What you really want to design your marble for is handling. You want to use handling, and you want to make sure that when you're rounding a corner, you're able to kind of get those speed boosts that you can get by drifting. And just like that, oh my gosh, it's 3 laps. I've literally never seen a map like this before. This is very exciting. 9000R is currently in. Oh, but Neuromancer out of nowhere. Oh my goodness. Exclamation point teleport in the chat. I have bad news. I don't think that's going to work. That should, theoretically, I think that should work. That should just send you somewhere completely random. But Neuromancer now leading the pack. Let's check in a little bit, some commentary over here on John Mark Go's play style. So this is a player I know, so I feel like I can kind of dissect his strategies here. You can see John Mark Go is playing conservatively. John Godfrey, they don't want to show their true power level until it really matters. And as we get here into the last wrap is when John really may go into overdrive. So definitely a player to watch, but we definitely also have to be aware of Sun Hacks, one of the premier hackathons of their region here, coming around the corner at Mach 5, harnessing the power of the sun, the world's first solar-powered marbles, folks. You heard it here. And we are, I think, approaching the final lap of this here first track of our 3-map Grand Prix. Bah! Sheep out of nowhere taken first, and the and the marbles ascend. Please rise as we go towards the clouds. The grand champions of marbles. Bah Sheep is in first. Neuromancer is in second. Sunhacks in third. Aditya Coach taking fourth, though. Definitely showing they've got potentially the chops to show what it is. Now with lasers, I don't know how I feel about lasers. Everybody, you're going to have to hit exclamation point play 1 of 2 last times. I got mixed up with my own sentence there. Everybody type exclamation point play in the chat to join in. As long as you're using the same name and you did not for some reason log out of your Twitch account, log into a new one, you will be able to join and you will get your points as we go through this Grand Prix. So I'm going to give everybody just a little bit here in case you're watching it on your phone inside of a Faraday cage on the moon and you have a little bit of latency between you and me. Oh, did my Discord just pop up? Whoops. What can you do with these points? Nothing. Isn't that very exciting? All right, everybody, I'm going to hit the big start button. You got to have 10 seconds to join in on the marbly fun. Don't miss out. We only do this once every Hackcon. Going down into the snowman. Oh, no, Sunder. Did you see? Sunder fell for a classic blunder. It rhymes with their name. You know they're going to do it. Unfortunately, Sunder was going at the same speed as the hole behind him that he was trying to go inside of. Sunder, you're going to have to kick it up if you really want to take this Grand Prix. I know that your parents, they emptied out all their funds to get you flown out here to enter this Grand Prix. I hope that they can really show up just to, make mommy and poppy happy. I'm with it. Shaik coming down the good old bend here, followed quickly by Neuromancer and Ashwin. Neuromancer, obviously, always a dangerous opponent. I never believe in people who do Nancy of the mind. You know what I mean? You can't, unfortunately, I don't think they're very trustworthy between you and me, so they may be trying to play dirty. This is terrifying! Do you all see this? There's no railings. There's suddenly, this previously peaceful track, Sunder keeping it on through, but oh my gosh, we already lost a few marbles. That is brutal. Sunder in first. Sunder, no! A classic Sunder maneuver, but will he manage to resolve? Sunder lands on his feet. This person should go to the Olympics. Oh my gosh, what a superhero. I can't believe they survived that. That looked like that was going to be it for sure, but without anybody noticing, is this who I think it is? Is this a certain somebody in Twitch chat who may or may not post in the MLH Discord just about every second of every day? I believe it is. And they are approaching the final part here by out of nowhere. Are they making it in? My gosh, they have indeed. They have indeed. They have indeed. Taking it there, falling into the bowl. You'll love to see it. Sorry, 1 second, folks. Everybody in the world is trying to contact me. Don't they know I'm commentating marbles? What else could I possibly be doing right now that could be more important than this? How the nerve of some people. So we have good old Shrikaron taking first place. Dated Cylinder in second. Larby in third. Sunhacks taking fourth. Sunhacks indeed living up to their... They said, I'm sorry if that discouraged y'all. I'm a natural at this. Holy moly. The flex, the absolute... I gotta say, he's built different. He's got about an 8-pack. Some people have a 6-pack, but it kind of goes straight up to like his ribs on him, and he's about 9 feet tall. and he is indeed going to be taking first place here. Has the sheer build advantage, if you ask me. Potato Cylinder in second, Larby in third, Sunhax in fourth, Boschheap in fifth. We're going to go into our last map, which is going to be Alienated. That sounds fun. I don't like the Morbies. Get the Morbies out of here. Whoa. I don't think you can hear my audio, but there was a big whew when that happened. Everybody, this is the final race of the day. Type exclamation point play in the chat right now if you want to join for the very last race of marbles at this Hackcon. This will be Hey, Finance, can I borrow marbles on stream skin? You're gonna expense marbles on stream skin for like the 4 times a year that I run marbles on stream for MLH. I'm all about it. Yes, if that's not a justified expense, I don't know what is. I mean, what else are you spending your hackathon budget on? Okay, everybody, we got 18 people in. I'm going to go ahead and hit the big start button. This will determine who is going home with the gold here. I don't care if everybody at MLH yells at me for it. I'm going to make your name in the MLH Discord gold come heck or high water. That will be your prize. I hope I'm not holding up any other workshops. I believe I was going until 5, unless I'm wrong. Okay, I'm getting gestures from the backstage here. They're telling me to just keep going, so I'm just going to keep talking until they bust out the big old cane and yeet me off on stage left. John Gottfried taking the lead of the pack immediately, but the alien's following him and trying to abduct him. This is a crazy map, John. You got to dip and dive through these marbles here. Oh my gosh, there he is. John, how do you feel about your current performance? You know, what kind of setup do you use for your marble racing?
Honestly, this is my proudest moment at MLH. I've invested a lot in marbles, mostly on the company dime.
Using the MLH coffers to fund his own addiction to winning marbles. You love to see it, John.
It's an incredible feeling. There's really no other high like it.
Yeah, and I gotta say, right now it is a big mix as to who's winning. They're going through the spooky cornfield, indeed. This is a map made to celebrate aliens, but Ashwin EXE going on down this corn cob. But we're going to find out just what EXE he is. Are we talking like a calculator? Are we talking a good old Trojan? What kind of EXE are we dealing with here? Are Trojans even EXEs, John? I have no idea.
I don't know.
I guess it can be.
I haven't used Windows in quite a long time.
Ashwin going ahead here. Oh no, Sunhax, you did buy a skin? Hold on. If I see you, I'll skip over to you so we can celebrate it. But Ashwin right now is ahead of everybody by such a huge margin. Do you see that lead? RB is coming up. Aditya is going. John Gottfried lost in the corn. Classic John Gottfried mistake. I see what happened to all of your speed. He's going like 1 mile an hour. Tricking and track down the track. You know, John is not now chilling. Already fell off? Oh no. I'm sorry, Sundex. The cool one, never one to be counted out whatsoever. Ashwin EXE, oh no, they are indeed a calculator. I saw a game got added to the Switch eShop the other day that was called Battle Calculators, and the interface is literally just 2 calculators, and I can't stop thinking about that, and I have no idea what that game could be. But we do have our first winner. Larby is taking first place, celebrating in the bowl, doing sick kick flips. I'm all about a Larby. They're popping off. They're throwing the football into the dirt here. Neuromancer, second. Mr. Sin is going to be third. Mr. Sin, I appreciate your Moxie taking third place. I don't think I remember your name in any of the races.
Sign, not Sin.
What's up?
It's sign. It's like a act sign. It's a TCP thing.
Who knew that?
Sorry, that was a deep cut, but
Shrigron is taking fourth. John is alive. He indeed did manage to finish the race in fifth. Let's go ahead and see the final results. Larby is taking first, Neuromancer second, Mr. Sign third, and we're going to finish the Grand Prix here and determine who the winning marbles are for Hackcon. This is for, pardon the pun, all the marbles. What will it be? Shrikron is taking third place here at marbles. Neuromancer in second. I can't believe it. Larby is indeed taking first overall at this Hackcon marbles tournament. They really rolled up to play. They had 10 points. Neuromancer and Shrikron are both tied with 9. You know, this is a little unfair. Why did this homie take fourth? I don't know. Maybe there was some collusion going on in the background, but as far as I can tell, this was basically tied up. However, it is going to be Larby, Neuromancer, and Shrikron taking first, second, third place. Congratulations, everybody who played. John Gottfried,
Wow, 23rd place.
23rd place, tied with Resendo, who only entered one race. You hate to see it.
That's awful.
Well, everybody, that is going to be it for me at this Hackcon Marvel race. Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you all very much for hanging out. John, do you want to talk a little bit about what's going on next?
I do. I also have a special guest to join the stream. Let's see here. Okay. This is the newest member of MLH. She's only 7 months old. She is yellow. Her name is Nori. Say hi, Nori. Yes, she's very cute. And she has her own little MLH shirt. She's on Team Blue. So, what's happening next is unrelated to dogs, even though she is very cute. What's happening next is workshops. So, we're going to have, I believe, 3 different workshop blocks. On this stage right here, we'll be having Christine, Vivian, and Arjun talking about how to make their hackathons queer inclusive. On the blue stage, we'll be having Justin Brezhnev from Hacker Fund and an old school MLH alumni talking about fundraising 101, how to bring money in for your event and club. And then on the red stage, we will be having Hugo and Utsa, I apologize if I mispronounced your name, talking about how we hosted their 2020 hackathon on a custom virtual platform. So make sure you turn over to those different stages. We'll be starting in just a minute here. And then after that, we will be coming back. And what's happening next? Drum roll. After that, we'll be doing another discussion block. And I will be coming back on the stream here at twitch.tv/MLH to give you a briefing of what those discussions are about. So I hope you all enjoy. I'm going to hand the stream over to our fantastic presenters here.
Hi, everyone. We're going to get started in just a second. Let me share my screen. Screen. Okay, cool. Found the right window. Very nice. That is not the right button. There we go. Can everyone still see, Vivian, Christine, can you still see the screen presentation mode? Okay. Great. So, hi, everyone. Again, our workshop topic is how can I make my hackathon queer inclusive? And before we get started, we'd love for all of you to pull out a piece of paper and a pencil or pen. And additionally, we'll have all the slides that we're presenting today available at tinyurl.com/bequeerdohacks. So yeah, again, before we get started, just take 10 seconds to pull out a piece of paper and a pencil or pen, or even, Sublime or Atom or whatever other text editor you have, TextEdit, I don't know, anything that you may have available to you. So just give it like a couple of seconds. Okay, we're gonna jump right in. So our motivation today is over the past decade, hacker event organizers have increasingly prioritized the inclusion of marginalized communities, including LGBTQI+ individuals. In this workshop, we will discuss how to tailor every aspect of your event, including the registration form, speakers, judging criteria, and privacy, to make it welcoming and accessible to queer individuals. Ultimately, the onus is on cisgender heterosexual organizers to work towards making all Major League Hacking events queer inclusive. Before we get started, you might be wondering who we are. So we're going to do a couple of introductions. My name is Arjun. I use they, them pronouns, and I worked on Queer Hacks and currently an organizer for Queer in AI.
Yeah, so I'm Christine, and my pronouns are they, she, and I'm a current organizer for Core Hacks.
Hi, I'm Vivian Chiu, pronouns are she, her, and I'm organizer for Core Hacks this year.
Cool. So we're going to start off our presentation by kind of building a foundational understanding of belonging. So you might have heard of all these terms: inclusion, equity, diversity, belonging, and you might have heard them synonymously, but we want to break down some differences between all these terms. So inclusion is the concept of all thoughts, ideas, and perspectives of individuals in your hackathon, organization, conference, whatever it may be, that they matter. In contrast, diversity is about having multiple identities represented in an organization, and equity is about constantly and consistently recognizing and redistributing power. So, for example, with diversity, we may have people from a variety of backgrounds, different races, ethnicities, genders, etc. But if none of them feel like their ideas and perspectives matter, then we don't have inclusion. And similarly, we might have inclusion and diversity, but if there's no one, especially no one in leadership, working to dismantle systemic oppression or any kind of marginalization, then people will feel like that they won't feel like they have any efficacy to make change within the organization. So all three of those combined form this term belonging. And belonging is when an org fully engages the potential of individuals, and innovation thrives, and views and beliefs and values are integrated. So everyone feels like their perspectives matter. There are a wide variety of people. It's a very diverse organization, and there are people in power making systemic change. So we want to jump right in with kind of an interactive component. So there's we're going to start off, we're going to do a scenario-based activity like throughout the duration of this presentation. It's going to be, the premise is that you're a lead organizer of your school's first hackathon, and you're going to get involved in a variety of situations, and you need to kind of decide what you would do in order to better foster belonging. So the first thing we're going to do is assemble your organizing team. So you've noticed in the past that most tech spaces at your school are dominated by white, cis-het, able-bodied men. And your first task, again, is to assemble an all-star organizing team to help you organize your event. What are some ways in which you can prioritize belonging in the situation? So take 30 seconds to just write down some of your thoughts on that piece of paper that you pulled out at the beginning, and then we'll maybe spend a couple of seconds just if people have any ideas to share, we can do that. Now I'm going to minimize my screen so that I can see the chat. Can we see the chat? I have no idea. Worst case, y'all just write down what you're feeling for 30 seconds.
We can let you know if anything comes up in chat. I can see the chat since I'm not sharing.
Okay. Okay, let's take 10 more seconds. These don't have to be like very cohesive thoughts. It's just put yourself in the situation of being the organizer for your school's first hackathon, and you want to assemble an organizing team. What are the considerations that you might make to better foster belonging? Okay, so we're going to actually jump into ways that you might assemble an organizing team. And I don't think we can interact with you, unfortunately, very sad. But the primary thing here is about likely creating a team where, one, there are a variety of different backgrounds and experiences represented. Additionally, you have channels through which people can address the way that they feel. And that's, some way that you can foster inclusion. And then you have someone in leadership, especially if you're the lead organizer, you're doing things to constantly center the voice of marginalized individuals. And by doing so, you've taken all three of those circles: equity, diversity, and inclusion, and you fostered belonging. There are a lot of other ways in which you can foster belonging. So not just the organizing team, you also want to attract a diverse set of attendees. You want to have a diverse set of prize winners. You want to encourage sponsors from a diversity of companies, and you also want to make sure these companies are ethical. And there's also speakers and workshop leaders. People who attend your hackathon really want to see themselves represented and the people presenting there. And we also have judges and mentors, and the list just goes on. So we're going to talk about all of these different things over the course of the presentation. And the order in which we talk about them is kind of like chronologically the order in which you consider these things as you're planning your hackathon. We want to also give a foundational understanding of intersectionality. So intersectionality is the concept of oppression not being monolithic. So everyone's experiences vary a lot based on the way in which their different identities intersect. So for example, Black women face very different forms of oppression than either Black men or white women do. This idea is very broad and it takes form in a variety of ways, but we just want to provide these 2 quotes, which could be kind of motivation for you to consider these things when organizing your hackathon. So the first quote is, "There is no such thing as single issue struggle because we do not live single issue lives." And this quote is by Audre Lorde. The other one is, "If we aren't intersectional, some of us, the most vulnerable, are going to fall through the cracks." And this is ultimately what happens when we take a very neoliberal perspective into diversity for our hackathons. If you're only thinking about race and only thinking about gender very separately and not about in the ways in which they intersect, you may very well alienate or implicitly exclude a lot of Black women, for example, from your hackathon. We're also going to build an understanding of gender and sexuality. So gender identity is one's inner sense and experience of their gender. In contrast, gender expression is how one expresses themselves, and this may be through their hair length, clothing, mannerisms, or makeup. And even different from all that is biological sex assigned at birth. This relates to when you're born and your doctor just looks at it and you're like, based on your genitals, reproductive organs, chromosomes, hormones, secondary sex characteristics, we're going to label you as either male or female. And you might all 3 of these things, gender identity, gender expression, and biological sex, they're often referred to as gender. That's just because in Western cisnormative society, all these things are kind of the norms. Are in cisnormative society, the norms is that they align. So if you are the kind of norm is that if you're a man, you feel like a man on the inside, that you express yourself in a masculine way, and that you're assigned male at birth. And this is definitely not the case for trans and non-binary individuals. And that's kind of why it's important to distinguish between these 3 things. And when you hear gender in the context of organizing your hackathon or thinking about diversity, try to think about which kind of gender you're referring to. Likely, you're going to be referring to gender identity because that is what matters, how one feels on the inside. And it's very different from how one expresses themselves or like the sex they were assigned at birth. And sexuality, even though there's a huge bit of white space there between gender and sexuality, they definitely do intersect, again, intersectionality, but sexuality is a very broad term that encompasses erotic, romantic, and emotional desires. It's super all over the place, and sexuality can really be up to the person who feels a certain way to define it as such. Some of our personal feelings and notes on gender and sexuality, especially as organizers of queer hacks, you have to keep in mind that gender and sexuality are fluid and flexible. And despite what Lady Gaga says, nobody is born this way. In fact, there's always this thing about essentialism, which is the concept that people are born gay or they're born bi or non-binary, and that never changes. But that's just absolutely not true. But it also does not matter, because why does one need to actually justify their identity? You really ought to just be listening to how the person feels, and if that feeling changes over time, you just have to keep on supporting them. There are labels that are there to help queer and trans individuals discover their identities. And you might have heard these terms: bisexual, trans, etc. But these labels are inherently reductive because they kind of perpetuate the idea that anyone who identifies with a specific label often has the same life experiences or has the same feelings with regards to their gender identity, which is just never going to be true. Gender and sexuality are very personal things. And so you should never really weaponize these labels as a tool for conformity. Never say certain bisexuals you'd expect them to act in a certain way, because the experience of being bisexual is very different for tons of people. Language around gender and sexuality are constantly changing, so it's important to stay educated. It's also super important to consult queer and trans members of your community. That's just because they're probably most familiar with the language around gender and sexuality. That being said, you definitely shouldn't overburden them with consultation, and definitely give them some sort of compensation for their work. And finally, please learn about non-Western frameworks for gender and sexuality. Admittedly, our presentation is going to be very Western-centric, just because this is kind of like the dominant norms within the LGBTQI plus community within North America, but this varies so much internationally, and we're always working to learn more about how to be accessible to an international audience. So the first thing we're going to talk about, post this explanation of gender, is application forms. So this is kind of the first thing that people who are your prospective attendees are going to interact with when they look at your hackathon. Asking for a hacker's gender identity is needlessly invasive and risks misrepresenting members of the queer community. Neither hackers nor the hackathon benefit from organizers knowing the gender of individual hackers. And if they do, they really shouldn't. This kind of is very reminiscent of ads. It's a little bit creepy. It's kind of equivalent to being asked, what's your shoe size when ordering at Starbucks? Like when I go to sign up for a hackathon, I don't want to be asked what my gender is, because it really doesn't have a lot to do with the operation of the hackathon. Okay, well, you still want to collect gender, what not to do. So this is a terrible example of gender collection. There's a drop down which allows people to only select one option. You get see male, female, and it's very different from, it's for some reason differentiated from trans male and trans female. Not really sure why that's the case. They specify gender queer, but there are a lot of other options missing, such as gender fluid. There's an other category, and other is always like, probably shouldn't do that, because other is literally othering. And there's a prefer not to answer. Also notice how there's no way for people to fill in what they want. There's no free-form text field. So how do you do gender collection? I'm just going to read through the question and then kind of talk about the main points here. So you want to specify at the top, we are gathering gender statistics in order to better serve the community. This is optional. All caps, italicized. Only organizers have access to this information. It will be kept confidential and will be disassociated from your personal information. You can choose multiple options if you like. And then you see we have a ton of options here. So what are some things that we want to point out? There's explicit assurance of intent, confidentiality, and anonymity. We are keeping the question optional. There are checkboxes for folks to indicate multiple genders. Avoid using male, female, as these are rooted in discriminatory scientific histories. Instead, use man, woman. We have distinguished here between non-binary and gender fluid, which are absolutely not the same thing. Never force individuals to label their gender. So we have option for questioning, and we have an option for prefer not to say. And finally, in the last option, we have a specify your own with an open text box, which gives participants space to describe their identity. Now we're going to talk about pronouns. In English, many third-person singular pronouns are gendered. It's important to note, pronouns are not gender, nor should they serve as a proxy for gender. Cis people can use they, them pronouns, non-binary people can use he, him pronouns, and people can use multiple pronouns or no pronouns at all. That being said, pronouns can be intricately linked with one's gender identity. So encourage the placement of pronouns on hackathon name tags, on Slack, etc. What other virtual or in-person platforms and ways to communicate your name that you're using to minimize misgendering for everyone. And remember, pronouns are not just for trans and non-binary folks. In fact, this outs trans and non-binary folks. So try to make it a requirement for everyone. And the ultimate purpose of pronouns is to facilitate respectful, gender-affirming communication during hackathons, which I hope all of you want. So definitely, again, remember to ask for pronouns and to have places for people to display their pronouns when they're at a hackathon. How do you collect pronouns? Again, I'm just going to read through the question and then talk about some of the main points. Please write at the top, please indicate your pronouns. Multiple choices are allowed. This data is collected only for statistical purposes, will be kept confidential, is purely optional, and will be disassociated from your personal information. Please refer to this guide for pronoun usage. There's a link, and then a bunch of different predefined pronoun options that people can select. Additionally, at the bottom, there's a how do you want the pronouns on your hackathon name tag to be displayed? And the options are same pronouns as above, remove my pronouns, or I want to add different pronouns. So note here, we do not say preferred pronouns, because usually preferred pronouns, it doesn't sound great. The connotation is that they're pronouns that people prefer, and then they're the ones you're going to call them by. So just say indicate your pronouns. Remember, multiple choices are allowed. Remember to remind the person that the data is only being collected for statistical purposes, will be kept confidential, will not be associated with any individual. Again, remember that pronouns are very like English and other third-person gendered pronoun languages. So please have a guide for pronoun usage. It may not be clear to every hacker who's signing up, especially international hackers, if like what pronouns may be, especially if in their language pronouns are not gendered. This will actually reduce the number of kind of like weird results for pronouns that you may receive in your form. From organizing with Query and AI, we've received things like doctor as a pronoun, and that just stems from a misunderstanding of what a pronoun is. Additionally, people may not be out, like if they're using they, them pronouns, that suggests with a high probability that someone is not cis, and they may not be out, so they may not want the pronouns they provide for statistical purposes to be on their name tag when they actually are attending the hackathon. So this is the second question here at the bottom is for privacy. It's to make sure that people have the option to not display their pronouns or to add different pronouns if they're not comfortable with displaying the pronouns you provided above to all the other hackers. Hackathon organizers should be ready to answer questions people might have about pronouns, as not everyone might be familiar with this practice. And some more application forum guidelines, names and anonymity. Please ask individuals to provide their chosen name, never their legal name, and additionally have rapid, accurate name change policies. People may change their name from when they sign up for the hackathon to when they actually attend the hackathon, and you don't want to dead name anyone when it's time for them to attend the hackathon. Additionally, many questions can be asked separately from the application form. Application forms are participants' first impression of the hackathon, so especially if they're queer and there are a lot of inaccessible forms that you're putting out there, it may not be a very good first impression. Additionally, split into anonymized and personal information sections, because queer attendees might not be fully out when attending your conference. And as always, it just feels really good to know what information will be anonymized and what information will be registered. For privacy and inclusivity, remove fields which are not absolutely necessary to the operation of the hackathon. Decide what information is necessary and what isn't, and make questions optional. Always have a prefer not to say option, and free response text fields are always preferable to predefined options. And for participant privacy, make sure to screen participants' responses. You might be able to screen out a lot of people who might ruin others' hackathon experiences simply from their responses to short answer questions alone. Additionally, don't release personal statistics because this could actually, especially here with a non-binary 2.9%, this could reveal the identity of some participants. And also, it's like statistics should be meant more for you to track the overall improvement of diversity and inclusion of your hackathon over the years, and less so to be like a public-facing thing that people can look at. Additionally, consider deleting applications post-hackathon, because it's not really necessary to keep everyone's individual personal data, but it's okay to keep statistics for that doesn't have any association with anyone's name.
All right, so I'm going to walk us through kind of the next interactive situation, kind of moving on from the application form. So the next kind of situation is you're now in the process of soliciting sponsors for your school's first ever hackathon. A well-known big name company comes forward and wants to be your top tier sponsor, but it's well understood that this company has a deep past of being anti-LGBTQ AI+. Your second task is to determine whether to accept this company's sponsorship. And so you can take some time right now to write it down on that piece of paper you had, or you can share your thoughts with us in the chat. And I think we can see the chat now. So if you want to share your thoughts there, there's no right or wrong answer here. I wish I knew the answer to this question. But how do you ensure that with your sponsors, you can, still have enough money to put your hackathon on, but also still be ethical? So yeah, take some time. It's a hard question. It's a hard situation to be in for a hackathon organizer. But yeah, Arjun, can you go to the next slide for me? All right, yeah. So I would say the number one thing you need to do with your sponsors is to research them. And so while we do need money to put on a hackathon, it's also really good to be aware of what companies you are having represent your hackathon. Because while you have a big name like Google, on your hackathon website, it's also a bit questionable what actions they do against certain communities. And so you shouldn't feel bad about taking money from these companies because we need it to put on these great events. But I think we should also be really aware of how these sponsors can make your participants in the hackathon feel, and if it makes them feel even more marginalized. So I think the number one question you need to ask yourself is, would you feel comfortable sending, people from your community there, whether it means women, non-binary, or the queer community there? And is this a company you want to represent your hackathon? Again, sponsor is always a hard subject to deal with for hackathon organizers, and so it sometimes is really case by case. Next slide, Arjun. Kind of walking away from sponsors for a good moment, but how do you make sure that your publicity is also diverse? So you can reach out to more diverse listservs. You can hit up Queer Hacks for our mailing list so that you can hit the queer community as well, and just really try to put diversity first in your publicity, and to make sure that your publicity materials are accessible and screen reader friendly and that pass contrast text. So yeah, you're good, Arjun. Next slide.
All right, so I'll introduce our next scenario here. So the focus is on coordinating speakers, mentors, and judges. And the case is that you're hearing from marginalized students that they're worried about feeling isolated at the hackathon. And so now your task is to keep this in mind while gathering speakers, mentors, and judges for your hackathon. So I'll give like a minute or so, like half a minute, to maybe write down like a few ideas that you might have and how you'd prioritize belonging in this particular situation. And if anyone wants to share their thoughts in comments, we can respond to those. I can see the comments, so. Okay. If not, I think we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so choosing speakers and mentors. What you should be keeping in mind while doing this is prioritizing diversity. And that basically means placing non-American, non-white, non-male, and non-cis folks first. And what representation means in this case is diversity and representation, quote unquote, often kind of go hand in hand, but the latter is sometimes used as a justification for high ratios of in particular white cishet men in mentorship positions. And so actual representation means being conscious of minorities and actively working to uplift and represent them in your population of collaborators. And so the overarching goal of finding good speakers and mentors is to ensure that all hackers are welcomed, seen, and empowered when participating in the hackathon. And this doesn't have to do with just mentorship, because it does apply to all aspects of the hackathon, but it is an important point of emphasis because comfort and safety are the spaces that participants should be able to ask questions from. And this is something that we kept in mind with Queer Hacks last year and kind of was the inspiration for, in our case, identity-specific mentors. Something to keep in mind when reaching out is that your mentors and speakers are, after all, only human and are usually volunteering in their own time and availabilities to be able to, help out with your hackathon. So you should make sure to stick by some of the guidelines we have listed on the slides, such as paying them if possible, because monetary compensation runs thin, and making sure not to overwork them, especially because minoritized speakers and mentors are already spread pretty thin amongst these kinds of events. So just keep that in mind when finding mentors. And moving on to the next slide, I believe. Oh, Arch, I think you're muted.
Thanks for catching that. Okay, so I'm going to talk about code of conduct. LGBTQI plus individuals are disproportionately victims of code of conduct violations. In fact, there were statistics from a couple of years ago that showed that compared to like gay men or trans women who are already subject to like high rates of code of conduct violations, bisexual women were at risk of were victims of 28.3% rather of bisexual women had been victims at some point of sexual assault. So this is a very, very prominent issue and is definitely worth addressing within your hackathon. So Major League Hacking provides a really good code of conduct, and you can feel free to augment their code of conduct as well, especially if you want to tailor to specific marginalized groups. You might have statements about how you don't tolerate any forms of any complaints regarding reverse racism, reverse sexism, reverse any reverse isms will not be addressed because those are not valid complaints, as well as any issues specific to queer individuals. You want to make sure that if you want to make sure that that's part of your code of conduct, you can add it there. And make sure to discuss the Major League Hacking code of conduct with your Major League Hacking representatives so that all of you are on the same page. Make sure the code of conduct is linked on your hackathon webpage and that it's easy to find and check how to report violations. And you can even designate code of conduct representatives who can help hackers report violations. Additionally, code of conduct and reporting guidelines should be repeatedly highlighted during any plenary session throughout and even after the hackathon. So you can remind people during like that 5-minute break between 2 workshops or that 30-minute break between sponsor highlights, just that there is a code of conduct. This is how you can report violations, and that you highly encourage people to do so if they have been a victim of any violation. And please have people available to help people report violations well after the hackathon is over, because often trauma takes a very long time to process, and people may only feel comfortable reporting violations well after the hackathon is over.
We'll kind of make an abrupt jump here to in-person operational accessibility for when things start to kind of open up back for this year. So the first point that we want to go over is double checking that live venues pass accessibility measures. So that includes things like, does your venue have appropriate parking? Is there wheelchair support, gender-inclusive bathrooms? Is there enough space and seating for everyone, especially since hackathons do tend to get packed, and you want to make sure that no one has to, like, you want to make sure that there is space for everyone. And so the second point is then finding travel grants for queer youth who are financially independent or struggling. Because unfortunately, in a majority of cases, queer youth don't receive the support from their families once they come out to them. And so to try to accommodate to people in these situations where they would like and benefit from attending but don't have the financial means to fly in person themselves, this would be a good option. And try not to overwhelm attendees with the event schedule, because what you don't want is to stress people out between having to choose between workshops and events that they might not have time for because of a tight schedule. And that's something that I think a lot of the hackathons tend to oversee when they are putting together the schedule. And so that's something to keep in mind. Respecting participation in workshops and sleep. So what you like to do for this is to create a schedule while keeping event attendance and sleep schedules in mind. And this means setting a reasonable late and early time for events, particularly live workshops, so that presenters and hackers don't feel pressured because of low attendance or an expectation to like not miss events. Even if that's not something that's like stressed about the event, some hackers may put it upon themselves to join every single event that is out there, and they shouldn't feel pressured to do that. Avoiding gendered language by exercising caution about that what you're trying to avoid with that is to alienate minoritized groups as well as misgender individuals in the room, which unfortunately might be the case if that's not appropriately taken precautions for. And the final point here is to hire interpreters if possible, because if your budget isn't tight, that might help to have translations of videos or presentations that might be shared live. Next slide. And now we'll go into virtual operational accessibility, which I'm sure if there are some organizers who put on events this year, they probably have some experience with. So this first point is to include resources on the website before the event. So make sure that all shareable resources are up on your main website before the hackathon for easy access before, during, and after the actual event. Research Discord and or other platforms for their accessibility. So for example, looking at red-green colorblindness, because exercising caution when finding a virtual platform would always help with, dealing with colorblindness, contrast checking, and just general visual accessibility. The third point is to double check closed captioning for both recorded and pre-recorded videos resources. And if necessary, sometimes you might have to pay for captioning services as they're pretty standard and like relied upon. The fourth point is to have optional cameras and to balance participation levels, because when hackers join events virtually, their situations might make that difficult for them to turn on their cameras and participate in real time. And so we get that the goal of most camera mandatory events is to promote interaction, but that can be addressed through managing participation and making sure that there are plenty of chances for interaction throughout said workshop event. And finally, record workshops and post them during the event, because that takes into mind time zones and difficulties that people might have with attending things on time. Yeah. Okay, so another situation that we have here has to do with team formation. And so I'll just read off the situation here. Before your hackathon begins, you've collected responses from attendees about what teams they want to work with and whether they're comfortable working with others or not. And now what you have to keep in mind is to appropriately match individuals to project groups. So I'll just give like 30 seconds. So I'll come back at like 34 something-ish to give you guys time to kind of write about how you can prioritize everyone's voices in this situation. I think that's enough time. We can probably move on. Okay, so team formation. It's something tricky. It's kind of scary for marginalized people, especially beginners who don't really know anyone else there from previous hackathon experiences. And even though flexibility might sound cool, sometimes people just want to be placed in a team and not have to worry about finding one themselves. And simultaneously, something to keep in mind is that make sure teams have homogeneous project interests, like, for example, collecting this through forms that you send out to all attendees, because you don't want to have people be miserable with, like, stuck with working in a project throughout the entire experience that they don't really have a particular interest in. Yeah, and so the next point is facilitating conversations between attendees. So you can organizers can help promote this by like regularly circling and kind of overseeing conversations, because many participants may not be comfortable just starting those themselves. And don't be afraid to check up on individual participants, because sometimes people people might feel uncomfortable presenting in groups, but if you approach them kind of one-on-one, I think they tend to open up more and be willing to talk about their personal experiences so far. And providing first hackathon tips without scaring anyone off. So kind of during event introductions when teams are still being made, you want to make sure to have a workshop specifically geared towards the first-time participants who aren't quite used to the hackathon dynamic, and to teach them basic skills like how to work in a team and use things like GitHub, because those are hurdles that might seem intimidating for some first-timers. And again, to kind of give a reminder, it's also just as important to present this information in an easily understandable and non-intimidating way to reinforce that your hackathon is a safe space for hackers of all skill levels. And this is one of the workshops that should probably be placed at one of like the topmost priorities for those that are posted on your hackathon's website during the event. So this situation is scheduling workshops, which I kind of touched upon earlier, but you're looking to plan workshops and events for your hackathon. So now you're trying to think of how to make sure that everyone who's planning on attending feels welcomed regardless of skill level and is able to access resources for interdisciplinary projects easily. So a few more seconds to think about that. Oh shoot, I didn't look at the time when I first said that. Is this enough time? Do you guys think? Okay, cool. All right, then we'll move on to talking about valuing diversity in workshops. So this first point here about fostering a sense of inclusivity, I have a few points underneath how listing ways of how specifically that would be achieved. So basically, inclusion and acceptance is always the first priority within any hacking space. So I'll be covering like a few ways to emphasize those points. And something to keep in mind for hackathons is that emphasizing a welcome space for the first time to attendees is to respect the fact that participants may not come with similar technical backgrounds and also may simply not be interested in them to the same degree as those who are already familiar with hackathons. So to keep in mind, you should make sure to create a schedule with events showcasing many different kinds of topics and not necessarily just technical ones. And we'll kind of provide a more in-depth example of what Career Hacks 2021's workshops looked like last year on the next slide to give you guys all an idea of what we're talking about. And of course, finding a diverse cast of presenters to share their perspectives, as we've mentioned earlier, is an absolute necessity. Some organizers might be wondering, like, why place less of an emphasis on technical workshops if the reason why hackers are there is to learn new work applicable skills? And while that might be the case for people who've signed up to the hackathon and have already expressed interest in the tech field, it's a fact that gender minorities have historically been shunned from their workspaces and might not have had more, I guess, like opportunities to get used to those kinds of ideas. So prioritizing diversity in your event schedule is also a chance to learn new topics, work-related or not, while wholeheartedly embracing gender identities. And I think, yeah, the next slide just has an example of all the workshops that we had offered last year. So you'll see that most of the workshops are more oriented towards, like, for example, learning React.js or like intro to deep learning. But there are also some non-technical ones that are like hacking the system and how to be a better ally and writing personal statements and whatnot.
All right, so we made it to the end. You've organized your hackathon. Everyone's about to make their teams. They're about to submit their projects. And so now you need to judge these projects. And so the last kind of interactive situation we'll have is you realize at the hackathon there are hackers of various skill levels and that the projects span a wide variety of topics. Your fifth and your last task is to configure equitable judging criteria to account for these experience differences and the diverse projects. So I think we should make clear here that, you know, the concept of fair versus equitable, fair can be very circumstantial, whereas equitable means for everyone. And so I'll give you a few seconds to kind of write stuff down, share your thoughts in the chat if you want. So yeah, but how do you make sure that your judging criteria is equitable for all? Oh, we have like 10 more seconds. All right, Arjun, next slide. All right, so how do you make sure that your judging criteria is inclusive? It all starts with your language and your words, because how you structure and talk about your judging criteria to your judges is then going to shape how your judges thus judge. And so making sure that the language you use is beginner friendly and inclusive of beginner projects, and making sure that that language is really clear and concise so that you're not really going in circles and confusing judges about like what do you give points to, what do you not give points to, and making sure that judges are grading the project, so what was actually created and not the people. So not grading beginners because they're beginners, but because of what they were able to create. And I think something that's also really cool to include in your judging criteria is to see what that project actually does ethically. You know, we're at a hackathon, but we can also think a lot bigger than what we are. And so seeing if that project can make a really good societal impact and probably considering that into your judging criteria as well. And probably the most obvious is that to make your judging criteria inclusive, you need to have a diverse amount of judges who can, you know, talk about a lot of different topics and just be inclusive of a lot of things. Arjun, next slide. All right, this is yours, Arjun.
I'm just unmuting myself. Yeah, thank you everyone for coming. I want to give credit to the person who made this. Their name is Data is Gone. You should follow them on Twitter. But this is from QueerX 2021. It says, "Be queer, do hacks." And I encourage all of the people here to be queer and do hacks. And thank you for listening to our presentation. If you have any questions, I think we have a few more minutes, so feel free to put them in the chat, and Christine will just read off any questions that we receive. So my bulldog just is like won't stop barking. Like, she's been barking for so many minutes. That's why I had to like keep on muting myself every time I presented. There's like not even anyone outside. She just barks at like the most random things, and I have no idea what they are. Do you see any questions in the chat, Christine? If not, okay, we'll probably give it like 30 more seconds, and I think we should be good to go after that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think people are also able to ask questions in Discord throughout the day. But feel free to post questions in chat there or ask them in Discord. Or I suppose they could probably email your hackathon, right, if they have private questions about how to organize their own events. Is there a good address to send kind of those types of questions to?
Yeah, there is. Let me just add that here right now. So our email is queerhacks@gmail.com. And yeah, we'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have about any of the content in this presentation. And additionally, just any questions related to being inclusive of queer and trans people at your hackathon.
Awesome. Well, sounds like y'all were very thorough. Thank you so much for the fantastic presentation. I honestly learned a lot, and I feel like we talk about this stuff all the time at MLH, but I still learned things, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. Have a good day, everyone.
Bye, folks. All righty. That was a great talk. Next up, we are going to be going to a workshop block. As I fix my hair here, a little, we're in that midstream lull. Okay. So, in about a couple minutes here, we're going to be going back to workshops. I'm going to go over how to be a great discussion leader or participant again, so that everyone knows what to expect if you didn't go to the first workshop block. So give me 1 second, I will load that up, and then we will immediately transition over to Discord. Okay, let's get this going. I don't know why I had an accent there for a second. Just felt relevant. Okay, so we're going to be loading up Hackcon discussions for our next session. As I mentioned earlier, historically we've been told that these are people's favorite part of Hackcon. They're incredibly interactive, they're participatory, they're really fun. What makes them great is that discussions are your time to connect on a deeper level with other organizers, ask questions in a more intimate or private setting, and to bond over the highs and lows of being an organizer. They're also one of the best opportunities to build one-on-one connections with other attendees of Hackcon. So you might be wondering, how exactly do Hackcon discussions work in a virtual setting? We conduct them on Discord. So make sure you are on discord.mlh.io and that you've gone to the Join Hackcon channel to get your role. After that, you should see a bunch of voice channels. If you scroll down and look for the discussion channels, you'll be able to join any of those voice channels. The first channel, each section, will be led by one of our speakers who applied to run that discussion. But if you join one of the other channels, you'll need to find your own facilitator. What is a facilitator and how can I be an awesome one, you might be wondering? Great facilitators are there to help the discussion move along. They ask open-ended questions, they invite, but they don't force participation. They help make sure someone in the group is taking notes, and they use the discussion guides that we'll be posting in Hackcon announcements to guide the course of the discussion. But if you don't want to be a facilitator and you just want to participate, we ask you to speak confidently, know that your perspective is always valued, your opinion is valued, regardless of how much experience you have. Ask questions of things you're curious about. And just because your idea is stated by someone else doesn't mean it's invalid or you have nothing to say. So offer your own perspective. If you're not interested in any of the discussion topics, you can head over to our unconference section to start your own conversation about any hacker community organizing topic you like. Now, if you're wondering what discussions are coming up soon, I will tell you in just a second. Okay, So our discussion for this session is how to make live streams exciting with JP, who you saw hosting marbles earlier. All of the other discussions will be unconference style, so you'll have to come up with your own topics. But honestly, JP is one of the best streamers at MLH, and certainly one of the best streamers I know. And so he'll be sharing tips and tricks about how to make awesome live streams for your hackathons, for your hacker communities, and beyond. You can head over to Discord now. I'm actually going to screen share and show some of you how to do this if you haven't done it before. Let me just make sure I'm not in a weird channel here. All right. Okay. I think everyone should be able to see my Discord now. So if you go over on this left bar here and scroll down, you'll see how to make streams exciting right here. If you join this top one, discussion leader, which I just did by clicking on it, you'll be able to participate and join the discussion and talk with other people. The other sessions here, discussion number 2, not in session, and unconference, is where you'll go to start your own discussion if you have one that you're curious about. And if you haven't done so, make sure you go to this Join Hackcon channel, use the reaction feature here, and react with Sparkles to get the Hackcon role and have access to all of the fantastic channels. Alrighty, folks. Well, I'm going to leave you now. We'll be doing discussions until, let me double check, for about an hour at 7 p.m., so 7 p.m. Eastern, which is in an hour and 10 minutes from now. Emily, our next MC, will be joining you to do organizer hangouts, which are another really fun part of Hackcon. And after that, we'll have a fireside chat about what you can do after graduation. So thanks, everyone. Enjoy the discussions, and I will see you later.